is edition number 4, and, you know, I didn't think I'd be, doing these as often as I've been doing them, but, yeah, so it looks like it might turn into a weekly thing, and I appreciate the feedback that you guys have been giving me, about my commentaries. I appreciate it. I appreciate, my friends spreading the word and stuff like that. And, yeah, so I appreciate it. And, yeah, so I'm bringing you guys another commentary today. I'm going to be talking about the Montreal Screwjob. It has to be, in my opinion, the most controversial incident in professional wrestling. And for those of you who have recently gotten into wrestling and know nothing about the Screwjob, or if you've been a fan but you never witnessed it, I'll recap it for you guys. The Montreal Screwjob took place back in 1997. The match was between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship, and some backstory about Bret and Shawn. Bret Hart despised Shawn Michaels back then. He really did. He didn't like Shawn at all. He thought Shawn was cocky and arrogant, and Bret just did not like Shawn at all. And things got very personal between the two. They were taking shots at each other, mentioning their families, and, well, Bret was, not so much Shawn, but yeah, so Bret was not a fan of Shawn back in the day. And things eventually boiled over into the business side of it, because Bret Hart was leaving WWE to take a bigger payday in WCW, and and it was affecting the relationship between Bret and Vince, because Vince became somewhat of a father figure to Bret during those times. So it was very difficult for both men, to deal with the situation at hand. And then, Vince was meeting with Bret, and he was asking him to drop the belt to Shawn in Montreal, and Bret said, "No, I don't want to do that. I can't drop the title to him in Montreal, but I will drop it the next night on Raw, and I will, say goodbye, and then I'll head over to WCW." But Vince was paranoid that Bret was going to show up on Nitro, on WCW Monday Nitro, with the WWE Championship. And Vince could not have that. I mean, just imagine the nightmare of having your championship thrown in the garbage on the rival promotion's main show. Vince could not have that. It already happened before with Luna, I believe it was. She jumped ship to WCW and threw the women's title in the garbage. So, yeah. So Vince couldn't have Bret Hart do that. So then Vince devised a plan to screw over Bret. And only a few people knew about it, Shawn Michaels included. So they went over the finish backstage. Vince told Bret that basically it would be a DQ finish. Hart Foundation would come down, and there would just be a big brawl that would happen. And that didn't happen. Shawn Michaels got Bret Hart in the sharpshooter. Vince McMahon called for the bell. Shawn Michaels was awarded the WWE Championship, and Bret got screwed. And then things got very heated from there because then Brett spat on Vince, spilled over backstage. Brett punched Vince in the face, gave him black eye. Yeah, it was just a bad situation. And I'm going to give my own thoughts on the screw job. Was Vince wrong in doing what he did? And basically to answer the conspiracy theories about whether or not this was actually a work or a shoot. So basically my thoughts on the screw job is this. I'm sorry that Bret Hart got screwed. It was a shitty deal. I mean, it shouldn't happen. I mean, Bret was the top babyface in the company, but at the same time, he was going to WCW. And I've heard Shawn Michaels in past interviews, you know, um, you know, because originally Vince told Shawn that he was gonna have Shawn put Bret over in the match. And Shawn's like, Vince, that doesn't make any sense. He's going to WCW. I mean, why the fuck should I do a job to a guy who is going to the rival company? Doesn't make any sense. But I'll do it, because that's the kind of guy Shawn was, because here's the thing about Shawn Michaels back in those days. He was kind of a prick. He was on drugs and yeah, Shawn Michaels was not a good guy back then. He wasn't. He was kind of all about himself and what he wanted for himself and for the company. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Shawn Michaels was still one of the best. He was the top heel in the company around that time, and Shawn was just unbelievable. And I'm glad that he changed his life around. That he became a better man. You know, and I know a lot of people say that Shawn Michaels is him being a Christian is a farce and whatnot, but they don't know Shawn. You know, I mean, they're just judging him because they probably don't like him or they hold a grudge against him. But anyhow, I'm getting off. I'm getting off subject. I'm going into a fucking tangent, and I'm sorry. But yeah. So yeah. As far as the screw job in itself, I think it was wrong that Bret got screwed the way he did. But at the same time, I think Bret kind of uh, brought it on himself because he refused to drop the championship to Shawn in Montreal. I mean, I know it was a pride issue and whatnot, but Bret needed to let go of his pride. Just do the match, put Shawn over, and then go to WCW. So yeah, it was wrong, but at the same time, the right thing had to be done for the business. And actually, there was a lot of good things that came out of the Montreal Screwjob because that kind of gave birth to the Mr. McMahon character, which really was a force in the Attitude Era. And yeah, I mean, I think it was a good thing for the business, to be honest. And but the loser at the end of the day was Bret in this situation because he went to WCW and his career fell flat after that. His career got ended when Goldberg kicked him so hard in the fucking head, gave him a huge concussion, and well, I wouldn't say huge, but he got a pretty serious concussion, and then Bret decided to call it a career. But yeah, I mean, life was hard for Bret after the screw job because not only was his career tanking, he also lost Owen, You know, I mean, but the Owen Hart story, that's a topic for another time. But yeah, Bret was really going downhill after the screw job, and Shawn, you know, he was riding high until he left after he put over Austin, and then yeah. So, you know, my thoughts in a nutshell is that it was wrong, but at the same time, it helped the business. And you know, if you ask guys about the screw job during that time, you know, they'll basically tell you the same thing that I said. Now, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who I, you know, talk about frequently on the commentaries. You know, I was listening to his podcast, The Steve Austin Show, which you can listen to on podcast1.com, and he was asked by a fan what he thought about the Montreal Screwjob, and yeah, he said there was a lot of confusion that day, and rightfully fucking so. I mean, shit. I mean, no one knew that was going to happen, except for a few people, and yeah, I mean, he was kind of seeing both sides of the coin like I am, you know. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the guys in the locker room, especially the Hart Foundation, I bet they were really pissed off, you know. But there was a lot of confusion and a lot of anger, and yeah, so yeah, it was definitely a dark day in the professional wrestling business, I would say. But to address the conspiracy theories out there about this being about this being a work, and this basically got started, this conspiracy theory, a couple years ago by Shane Helms, aka Hurricane Helms, and he believes wholeheartedly that the Montreal Screwjob was a work. And I completely disagree. I just can't see Bret going along with that, you know. I just can't see him going along with something like that, you know. I just can't. I mean, I mean, yeah, it just seems so far-fetched for it all to be just a work. So, as far as the conspiracy theories go, you know, I think you can pretty much put it to rest. You know, the thing that happened was very real, and there was just real disdain and hatred between Shawn and Bret. And as a matter of fact, I remember listening to something that Jim Cornette did. He was talking about a fight backstage between Shawn and Bret. And the reason why this gets brought up often is because, you know, Jerry the King Lawler was in the shitter while it was going on. So, yeah, Jerry the King Lawler's in the stall taking a shit, and then Bret and Shawn are just going at it. They're pulling hair and fucking throwing punches and shit. And, yeah, so, yeah, and that's why that story gets brought up as often as it does, because Jerry the King Lawler was in the shitter when it was going on. So yeah, but yeah. So this brings us to a couple years ago when Bret Hart made his return to the WWE after so many years after the screw job, and him and Shawn essentially buried the hatchet live on Raw, and that was a great moment, not only for those two, but for the business, you know, because, you know, things were very heated between Shawn and Bret, and for them to let bygones be bygones and shake hands and you know, leave the past behind them and become friends. That was a really good moment. I really enjoyed watching that live, and it's one of those moments that I will never forget. as long as I'm a fan of this industry. And then it led to Brett working a program with Vince, which culminated in a match at WrestleMania. And a lot of people didn't like the match because it consisted of, Brett just hitting Vince repeatedly with a steel chair, and then the Hart Dynasty at the time, David Hart Smith and Tyson Kidd, they were, getting their shots in on Vince too. But you know what? You can't do much when you've had a stroke in the past. So to all the people that were hating on that match because of Brett's limited mobility, you know what? Screw you. The man could only do so much. But anyhow, to put this all in perspective, I think it was great that Brett came back after all those years, of feeling bitter and feeling angry and pissed off, and he had every right to be. He had every right to feel that way. But yeah, I felt it was great for Brett to bury the hatchet with Shawn and Vince, and to come together and just let bygones be bygones. And Brett has a pretty good friendship with Shawn now, and he's back on good terms with Vince as well. And I feel like WWE has treated Brett well since he's returned. And he's in the Hall of Fame now, and yeah, he's been treated very well since coming back. And I applaud WWE for making things right with Brett. I applaud Vince, Shawn. I feel like all three men became better people as a result. So yeah, that's definitely good. And so yeah, I think that's pretty much going to cover it for this edition of Wrestling Commentaries with CS. I thank you guys for listening. And if you have any feedback for me, comments, questions, suggestions, leave them in the comment box below, or you can tweet me. I have a Twitter account. It is @tweetsofcs, and I also have Facebook and Instagram if you want to follow me on those sites as well. And I'm into music. I'm a rapper, so if you want to listen to my music, go to bandcamp.com and listen and download. And if you want to check out my main channel content, my YouTube handle for my main channel is CS Outlaw 91. And on there I talk about society, people, relationships, news, sports, anything I can think of. So go ahead and check it out. So with that being said, guys, I am going to get out of here, and I hope all of you enjoy your weekend. Be safe, be positive, and I'm out. Peace.